to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you'll please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Tim. Looks like it's going to be a quick meeting tonight. Our first applicant, DRB 2020-16, is going to be a continuation to next month. So our other applicant tonight is DRB 2020-17, the application of IM Health at 372 West Lancaster Avenue in Wayne for a ground sign, a wall sign, and an awning sign. Okay, Doctor? And Doctor, you've been here before, so you know these meetings are televised live, and so please speak loud so the audience at home, which is very large, could hear you. So we get great ratings. Yeah.
I was here, I think it was about a year ago.
All two of them.
All two of them.
Thanks. So I came a year ago on the signs, and I actually got approval for one of the three signs, and the awning sign that was over the canopy. Do I need to show anything, Bob, up on the canopy?
You know what? For the viewers at home, do you want to just lay it out on the table so at least they can see it?
Trying to
You'll
see
need to
which
hand them the
one.
mic.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Do you have that? I brought
I
your,
don't have color copy of what you have.
I
I
have,
don't know if you have any. Is yours color? Shows a different sign.
Yeah.
I brought your old packet.
Here, you can have the submission for this one.
If that's color.
Yep.
That one will show a little bit better. Thanks.
Yep.
There you go.
All right, thank you.
Doctor, if you want to stand right there, if that's okay, and here's a handheld for you, or if you're more comfortable there, whichever.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, so
So there's three signs.
yeah,
And this is a new building, I'm sure you're all aware of, and Township's been really helpful for me in getting this all developed and built, and we're coming along. We have the outside mostly done, so people can easily see it now. But when I came last year, there were three signs. We're back with three signs. One was approved, and the sign that was approved was over the awning, and that says I Am Health. It's not lit up. They're, I think, aluminum letters. Bob Millett, who's with me, will be able to
if you want to lay that out.
talk in more detail about them. He's with Advanced Signs. So this is over the awning, and really pretty much decorative. Let me point back here at the signs, and that's the same sign I was just showing.
Okay.
So the other two signs.
I'm
yeah,
sorry, Doctor, you said the awning sign is not illuminated?
It's not illuminated.
Okay.
It's just, I believe they're aluminum die cut, Bob, is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
aluminum die cut.
Aluminum die cut
Okay, good.
letters. And they'll be mounted into that steel canopy.
Mm-hmm.
That's there.
Okay.
So, and that was approved last year. The other two signs that weren't approved, the first one I'll touch on is the monument sign. That's the smaller one down here. It's not that small, actually, but it looks smaller in the pictures. And that was basically approved with the idea was that I have the different companies that are involved in the I Am Health concept. And the question last year was, well, are they all under one title? And I said, yes, they are. And I was told that you have to actually have a separate fictitious name or something like that. So I went to my accountant, set all that up, so they're actually separate businesses now.
So at this point, it's I Am Family Practice?
Yes, I Am Family Practice, I Am Cafe, I Am Physical Therapy. Those would be the different companies.
Is there an I Am Urgent Care as well?
I Am Urgent Care, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so really it's five different businesses that'll be there. So it's a medical, it's a community medical center, basically.
Right.
There's also I Am Performance, or that's our personal training area. We're really trying to emphasize wellness. We'll have registered dietitian, we'll have personal trainers working with our patients. So it is a global concept, but we will have those as separate entities. So that was the only issue with that sign.
Well, you know what?
Last time, yeah.
I was just looking through your old application.
Mm-hmm.
It's big, and it's a little bigger than the code,
Which is?
your monument sign.
I don't know the details on that, but last year I don't think that was the
Yeah,
question.
That's
Yeah, I don't
what
know
I'm
if we actually got to that issue because of the,
Yeah.
I remember having a conversation
Yeah.
about the different ways to potentially get through
Right.
with the code
Yeah.
as to have the different things on
Bob,
there.
I don't know if you can help here on that side? So when you say, I don't know that code that well, but,
Is there a maximum square footage allowance?
To C2.
For a monument sign, yeah, there's, I don't know, do you have the code?
Actually, just give
Oh,
it to
okay.
Tim, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Maximum size for
It sounds like 50.
the monument sign.
Or, excuse me, not 50, 30.
30 square feet.
30, yeah, this is at 58. And I don't know how it got so big. I think proportionally, it'll probably look great on that
isn't
building.
that what it was last year?
You know, I'm kind of looking, yeah, you presented last
I don't
year's.
think we changed it, Bob, we
No.
didn't change.
No, you really didn't. Last year, you proposed
No.
70 by 120, 70
Yeah.
inches by 120. That's what you have this year.
Well, I can show you a picture, and I don't know what the size is, but one of my issues, let me get some of these pictures here,
Yeah, you're 30, so.
Yeah.
is one of the companies that's adjacent to me, 3D, maybe theirs isn't, it just seems huge if you look at some of these pictures. This one's a little bit blurry, but it's meant to kind of give an idea. So this is 3D in front of me, it looks like a pretty big sign. If you're coming up the Lancaster Avenue, if you're heading east. So, I don't know the specifics on it, but I didn't think we changed the size of the sign. I don't remember that being an issue.
Right.
Yeah, I don't recall getting to that because
Yeah,
we
maybe
were
that's what
ultimately,
happened.
I think we
Yeah.
ultimately
Yeah,
didn't get past the content versus the actual structure.
okay.
Right.
And I think I have from Kevin, the approval letter, and I think maybe it doesn't talk about that at all. I don't think it lists a reason,
Mhm.
so it didn't, yeah.
So are is it 50? Did you just?
No, it's 30.
It's 30.
30, yeah, and it's C2.
30
C2 area.
seems small. I feel like if I drive around,
Mhm.
there's bigger ones than that.
Well, you know, sometimes it just depends on the area.
Yeah,
You know, different areas have different size requirements.
Yeah.
Some are smaller and some are larger.
but
Yeah.
my building is a large building.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Well, you know what, maybe we'll put that on the back burner, just in case you need to go to the zoning hearing board for
Okay,
other
we'll talk
sign
about
and
the other
maybe.
one?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I-
we'll go to
yeah.
the next one. So,
Right,
and I
so-
think, let me just show,
Yeah.
show pictures a little bit. So this would be coming east. This would be coming, try to put it like that, from the west side, looking at the building, okay? This is kind of in the middle of the street. I think I stood in the street for this picture, and this isn't that old, maybe, you know, a few days old.
Is there?
You're gonna need to be on the
I'm
mic.
trying to- And tell us your name, please. and-
Bob from Advanced Signs.
Okay,
Is there a maximum height for the pylon sign?
8 foot,
8 foot high?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that's an issue we're gonna talk about too, I guess, then. Because part of the problem, and this is a good segue, I think, into the next sign, is that there's about an 8-foot drop
Right.
down from Lancaster Avenue, and if you're sitting in a car, you're probably 4 feet eye level, so that's 12 feet. And that's my issue with the next sign, and what we proposed
Yeah,
was basically, I know there's a 15-foot height restriction, and it was just, you know, moving it up 8 feet so you can see it.
Mhm.
And I will be removing this tree that's on my property, but you have this sign too as you're coming up, and that blocks a lot of view. And then from the other side, you can gotta get a perspective here, you know, kind of the drop-off. When you're coming down Stratford Avenue, you're driving into the second floor.
Yeah.
That's how I drive to work, to get there. And I took some pictures of, this is Bryn Mawr Dermatology, down in the new center towards the Villanova part of Radnor, and that's probably 28 feet high. And this is Bryn Mawr Trust. They have a sign, that's gotta be 20-plus feet high. It's on all 3 sides, actually.
they got relief on that.
Yeah.
They went
But
to
it's-
zoning
I'm
hearing.
just showing
Yeah,
examples.
yeah,
You know, of
Mhm.
signs, I'm not, I
But-
understand it's a 15-foot.
right.
So, and then the way the building is, the architecture of the building, it lends itself to this vertical type of idea. You know, before I didn't even think about signs when I was designing the
Yeah.
building. But we have these pilasters that run all the way along. There's actually gonna be a light, it's gonna be lit up, it's gonna be beautiful.
Mhm.
There'll be lights highlighting the brick all the way around. But that, you know, there's really not a spot for a sign to go across very well. So it lends itself to that. It's kind of, the building's an old-fashioned building too,
Mhm.
and kind of an old, like, pharmacy look with that vertical type of sign. So I think what we're just trying to do is raise that up a little. Even if we do that, I think 3D is gonna block me a little bit, if you're coming eastbound. As far as, I took some pictures, and one of the discussions last year's was letter size. And I took a bunch of pictures. This is the AT&T building, kind of the center of Wayne. That is, I think, 21 inches, that letter. This is right down the street from me. Thank you. That's Wawa. Their letter is 37 inches long. This is Baskin & Robbins. Unfortunately, I don't think they're there anymore, but that sign's sitting there. It's 26 inches. This is called Beans, and that's 29 inches. And I think what we're proposing is the width of them would be 22 inches. And I think proportionality with our building, you need that.
Right. Now, what was the height of those letters? Did you ever determine that?
Bob, is the width 22?
Yeah, so it was like 20, so that U would be proportional, so it would be 22 by 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because before you came in, I think there were 17. We talked about that.
Yeah, I think last year, but
Yeah.
going back and looking at these other things, and then the size of the building, it just, that looks diminutive.
Right.
Yeah, so I think, I'm proud of the building. I think it's really adding
Oh,
to
yeah.
Wayne. I think it's
Yeah.
a beautiful building. I will do, the signage is gonna be very, very nice looking. If you want Bob to speak to the monument sign we're gonna have, that's gonna be aluminum, die cut. The letters are gonna actually stick out. That'll be red letters, and then you'll be able to see, you're gonna put,
So what we're
This
gonna
is-
do is we're gonna fabricate like the pylon sign is gonna have clear 3/8 acrylic that pushes through. So the face of the letter will be red, it'll be a PMS 187 red that we list, and then the edges will be clear. So it'll give it a crystal kind of look on the edges. So it's gonna be really high end.
Right.
To kind of tie in with the building.
So is it the actual edge conditions of the letters that you'll sort of see the illumination from there?
Yes.
You won't see it from the red, that'll be opaque.
No, you'll see the red.
The red will still glow a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
because
just
it'll be
wondering.
Yeah.
it'll be a translucent vinyl.
Okay,
3M
yeah.
translucent vinyl.
and
but
the
yeah,
only
it's-
letter red is the urgent care one
Yeah,
on that
yeah.
sign. That's the rest of them are white anyways.
And I think the other reason why we went to go with a larger letter is, I have a diagram that we can show here as well. But that size letter, 17-inch letter, you can only see,
So that would be here?
yeah, so you can only see that letter from 160 feet away.
Right.
So when you're coming up that Lancaster Avenue, you're gonna be on top of it before you can even see it. So if we went a little larger, we'd be able to see that at like 240 feet.
And then for me, it's a medical facility. I'm hoping, that people, if they need the urgent care.
Right.
I don't want them to be able to see that.
Well,
I think what I'm trying to emphasize, I think the building is really pretty. It's gonna help Wayne, and I think the signage, I want it to be equal to that task. I
Sure,
want it to be very
sure.
good looking.
I got a question. The monument itself, that'll be the matching brick to the
Yes,
building?
yep,
Same color,
yep,
okay.
Same thing.
Okay. And, I mean, what do you guys feel? I mean, it's too big.
So I think
Okay, so-
there's like two parts to this sort of issue. One is that we know we can't approve it because it's under, or it's over the 15 feet. And so-
30 square feet.
Well, I'm
you're
speaking
talking
of
about
the,
I'm
right.
sorry, okay. Yeah.
That's because we're, right, like, we're coming at it from like
Which
how we
one?
said we might come in. So, we did this to Penn Medicine, when they wanted to put the sign on the garage. And we said, yes, the sign is, from an aesthetic viewpoint, is okay, but it's going to, we can't approve it because it's above the 15 feet and subsequently has to be pushed to zoning to approve that. And I think just based on that precedent alone, we would have to follow through with that same rationale, as far as we can't approve it for the height of that sign. So the real question that I think is before the board is whether or not we can at least approve the aesthetics of what of the large sign on the pilaster is, and then defer to, getting that variance associated with the zoning, much like what you cite
Yeah.
in Bryn Mawr Dermatology and some of the other examples that are above that.
The only difference that I see is those buildings don't have the drop-off I have.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know if Penn does either. I think Penn is up on a hill.
But and that one's almost, and that's almost viewed from 476.
Yeah.
You know, essentially, it's
Yeah.
on the back end of that garage.
So that was the only thing that I was hoping that you could help me here, because that's a big difference. I drop way down.
Right.
And then, you know, so to me, it's not 20-some feet high, it's really 15 above where you can actually see it.
But, you know, I think, and I have to look at the code, but I think it's just from grade, right? And sort of what the average, and then you just sort of average
Yeah.
the grade out over the entirety of the site to sort of figure that out. And then it gets into the minutia of it. But, like I said, it's,
No, I think it would be the grade at the point of the sign, not the grade throughout the property.
is it?
No, it would be the grade where the sign is.
Okay.
Rated sign, yes.
Yeah. You can't find the high point of the property and average it out. It's where the sign is,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
So
I was
just,
just-
it drops
that's-
so fast. I hear you.
I'm going through the code right now to
Yeah.
see if I could find some way to see some way around, or even if the allotted square footage was, if this was compared to, say, like a sign at a commercial center where you have multiple tenants.
Right.
But I don't even think that, I can't find anything that actually expands that beyond the 30.
So then to that point, again, just for a point of clarification on which two signs we're talking about, like
Okay.
the nature of my discussion or concerns was the sort of sign on the corner on the pilasters, the sort of dual facing one. Like, again, even if we said the sign is beautiful and everything's great, just as this body, we
Right.
can't.
That's
we
what I'm
can't
saying. If you had a
approve
zoning
it.
hearing, you might kill two birds with one stone, you know.
Okay, I mean, it's,
But then to that point, do we have concerns, you know, with that sign then, the corner sign? Is there any issue?
I think it's something that's going to be outside of the purview of our jurisdiction anyway. So if you want to get this sign to look like this, you're going to need to seek alternative relief. Even if you're talking about pure content-wise, technically, I'd say that the urgent care in this setting, I think, in my justification in my head, why you were able to put the urgent care and the family practice and everything else, by going and getting the distinct entities, was because you're making those IM, and then you have the line there to differentiate. And so essentially, the name of the business is IM Urgent Care, right?
yeah, for that one.
So on the side here, on the corner, it doesn't say IM Urgent Care, it just says Urgent Care. So I think from that point, it takes it from being an actual announcement of the business to just words on the wall. It's a bit of a, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
If you had the IM above it, maybe I could see the justification for having the urgent care on the side there, but otherwise, it's just a bold-faced advertisement.
Yeah, okay. And I remember hearing some of that before, too. You know, here, I have Bryn Mawr Trust on my phone, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Drive up tellers, 24-hour ATM. That's not their,
I hear you.
yeah. So I just, you know, I don't think we should be selective on things. I just, you know, and I think that's, you know, it's, I am urgent care. It's urgent, you know, that's, that's,
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
No, look,
yeah.
the urgent, the sign as it is right now is
Yeah.
outside of what we can give you.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, we can take a look at the aesthetics of it. That's what we did for Penn. Ultimately, I don't think that mattered because it went up to the commissioners and, well, it went up to the zoning, but on the way up there, the commissioners didn't give really 2 cents to our opinion as to the aesthetics of it. So that's beyond what we can do and beyond what I can say.
So,
So if we added IM to that,
I think from my perspective, in terms of making it an actual sign for the business, that's, in my justification, that gets it back into the code, and then at that point, you're just expanding the size and that way.
then you'd have to go higher, though.
Yeah, I hear you. It's all relative. Like, you're outside of the box. I'm just trying to see a way that I could conceptualize to put it back somewhat inside the box, so that it's not as non-conforming to the code.
Okay.
But that's just my own 2 cents.
How high is that sign on the wall
What's the top?
from the ground? I mean, what's
I think it's 26 is the top because it's 8 foot like
Oh, that's
the
right.
top,
You know,
so 15, I
you-
think it's,
Yeah, I think you have that in there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
26.
26, okay.
Yeah. So that's just because of the drop.
because we're losing that, we're losing that 8 feet. you know.
Right, but the sign is 26 feet, but then it's 8 feet above the grade, so it's at a height
the
of
sign,
34.
The height is 26. That's the top.
From the U to the E.
From this, the actual sign isn't 26 feet long. From the ground that it sits on to the top of the U is 26 feet, I believe. Am I right?
No, the
It's
plans
like
here say,
34
We have
feet,
the-
roughly.
We have we have the actual letters at 26, which we can reduce. We can definitely shorten there's a greater space between the C and the T there. I mean, you could probably shorten that, 5, 6 feet. I see what you're saying, it's 26 feet plus the 8 feet.
Right, and I'm just, because we would establish 15 feet as the mounting height, and then
Right.
from that 15
So if
down.
we
So
did
this
that,
is
it
roughly,
would
say,
be
34, and then down is
Yeah.
the height,
28,
or the mounting height.
15. So we're looking, if we can reduce that, to bring that closer, and if we did that,
We can make the letters closer a little
yeah, so we could go 20, we could make that, it looks like, 28 feet from grade.
So,
So we could reduce that to 20 feet, and then you would have the 8 feet from,
Right.
where it drops down. So 28, we
Yeah.
could make it 28 feet, so we could actually go maybe even 25 too,
Mhm.
but,
but to
we
your
would have to
concern,
we would have to reduce the size of the letters.
right, but to your concern about, its visibility from Lancaster
Yeah.
Avenue based on the grade.
bit. And then the
drop-off, I
size of the
mean,
building.
And the
Right.
size of the
Yeah,
building.
that's
it.
Looks proportional.
You don't want to put, you
It'd
don't
be
want to
too
put a
small.
12-inch letter.
Right.
It'll get lost in the
on a
facade.
30-inch
Yeah.
space,
Yeah.
and you're not going to be able to read it.
Yeah,
So, quite frankly, like, in all honesty, I think you're gonna have to go to zoning
Okay.
for this, right? And so I would present what you want,
Yeah.
right? Like, present the 26 feet
Yeah.
Yeah.
thing and present it at 34 feet above grade.
Okay.
Like, quite frankly, I would recommend that. That's what you want. And I think it does sort of align itself in the right scale contextually with the building as you have drawn now. And so to that point, from an aesthetic viewpoint, if it
Yeah.
was in our purview, I would say it would be okay.
Mhm.
But again, because it's outside, of that mounting height and what we can approve, that's where we have to defer to zoning on that.
yeah,
Okay.
we don't have the authority.
Right.
It's outside
Yeah.
of our jurisdiction. Now,
Okay.
From my perspective,
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of having the urgent care on there anyway, but I think
And
that's.
why do you say that?
I just think it takes it from being something right there in Wayne to something that you see more in a more urban setting. So I think it's something that not necessarily flows necessarily with the community in the context of where it is, but that's my own personal perspective.
Yeah.
If you want that, it's something that you can request
That's
from.
my most important sign.
I understand
Yeah.
it's your
Yeah.
bold advertising.
Yeah, I would get rid of the other two to have that.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, and then, look, I look at Wawa, I mean,
No.
you drive by and that's what you see.
Yeah.
You see a
Exactly.
huge Wawa sign.
Exactly, and
So-
from a commercial
Mhm.
standpoint, 100% I understand why you want it,
Yep.
because
Yeah.
that's where you're gonna be able to generate the higher returns.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I need the visualization for. The rest of what we do, I don't need
Yeah,
that.
you get them in on the urgent return, and then
Yeah,
you.
I'm a
you
family
also-
doc.
You got
Yeah.
the family doc that,
Yeah.
once they're in there,
Yeah.
how many people, I know
Yeah.
my brother-in-law, I don't even think has his own primary care, so he
Yeah.
goes to the urgent care like it's his primary
Yes.
care.
Yeah.
And once he starts doing that, then you see that, and you start grabbing him and bring him in and start providing the care for him that he needs.
Yeah, because I bought a retail location
Yeah.
for that,
Exactly.
Yeah.
not for anything else I did.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's why I paid so much money for it. And that's why I'm investing so much money.
Right.
And that's why I think
Yeah.
if you want what you
Yeah.
want,
Yeah,
the next step is to go where
Okay.
we can't give it to you, but they
Right.
can.
Yeah,
Okay.
and again, that's where I would just go with,
Mhm.
with what, exactly, just, you don't have to change the design, quite frankly, because I think it's,
Mhm.
like I said, it's right for the size of the building,
Mhm.
and so to that point, you gotta go to zoning with what you want, I wouldn't change it.
So
Okay.
that speaks also to the monument sign.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, let's just go back to the monument sign
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
second. Are we in agreement? Is it okay, size, everything?
Size is big, right?
I know it's big,
Yeah,
but,
it's-
I mean, it's Bob, right?
Yes.
Bob, do you notice the size of those letters on
On
the
the
sign? Just to
monument
give us
sign?
an idea on the monument sign?
The
Like-
I am health is probably,
18.
Had it here.
probably 12 or 13 inches.
Okay.
So if you reduce that, it's gonna reduce our visibility. You know, so you're getting about 120 feet for the IM help.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we're okay with that? If they bring that in, we're not going to yell later and say, hey, we should have told them that. You
That
know.
it violated in size?
Well, we know he's going to have to go for,
Yeah.
you know, but,
No, again, from sort of the execution, the assembly of it, it makes sense. From the lighting, it makes sense. It's, you know, arguably, it's over in size. Not arguably, it just is. But again, if you sort of put it in context to scale, associate it with
Yeah.
the size of the building and sort of the other signs that are directly adjacent to your site, and that, I would be okay to
yeah, and I think that's why we
So-
granted Wawa such large letters. They've got a big building, and you don't want to put, you know, 6-inch letters on a big
Right.
building. It
Yeah.
looks,
Right.
looks out of place. So.
Yeah.
Is so for the square footage allowance, is there a percentage of the square foot of the building that we're allowed to use?
You're using,
The way that it's written in code, or is there just a flat square footage?
For a monument sign, I believe it's,
well, monument is allowed 30 and 8-foot
Right.
height.
No matter what the building size is.
Yeah.
For your building, you're allowed 2 square feet for your first 15 feet of building frontage. So 2 square feet for your first 15 feet of building frontage, should that be 30?
Uh-huh.
And then an additional foot for every additional width of the building, up to 50 feet. That's
a-
your max.
That's a wall sign.
That's a wall sign.
Wall
So
sign.
that's what we're considering, the wall sign, 50
Right,
feet.
right.
50 square feet
Right.
is your max.
You're talking about the ground size, the ground sign though?
Yeah, and ground
The
is,
ground side is just a pure 30.
Yeah, it's a
30.
straight.
Fewer 30, no
Sure.
matter
Right.
what
It's
the square
not-
footage of
right.
the building?
So you're
Yeah.
over on both.
Okay.
I just want to.
And there's a second calculation for all signage. So if you
Yes.
look at section C1, there's provisions in there, and there's supposed to be calculations submitted with the application so that we can do a quick review. So it's hard to say exactly where you're at and how much zoning relief you will or will not need. Obviously, the freestanding sign, you're well above that. So this board's got some decisions to make and how you want to structure a motion, if at all, contingent upon zoning relief. But then if zoning relief grants
Zoning-
them
it
some but
trumps
not
us.
all, then they're going to have to come back anyway. So
Yeah,
sign height is going to be an issue, sign size is going to be an
Yeah.
issue, and possibly the total sign area is going to be an issue.
And zoning trumps us anyway, so.
They do. So if you make a recommendation as it is now and zoning changes and doesn't grant them the extent of relief they're looking for, so instead of 58 square feet, they give them 40, that's going to change the dynamics of the sign, so they may end up coming back in front of you because of that. So with the amount of relief that they need, it may be premature, but that's ultimately your decision whether or not, how comfortable you are with things possibly not coming back to you.
Kevin, I have also a timing issue, because I'm hoping to open in September. I'm pulling all that off.
Well, zoning hearing board,
Next month, right?
Appeals would be due what, within,
there's no meeting in July, or in August, and we may be right at the submission timeline for the July meeting. I'll double check
I
that.
think I already submitted. I may have.
You may have submitted for the zoning hearing board?
Yeah. I'll double check that, but I thought I did.
22 by 26, what did you get? I think that number's wrong. I think it should be that.
All right, yeah.
You know, Bob, I think your calculation's wrong, too, on your wall sign. And we're going to just double check it, but I come up with almost 48 square feet instead of 36 and change. So,
So it's roughly what?
so just to have your numbers correct, but we're
did
just
you
double
get?
checking that. I got 47.66.
yeah.
I got like
it's closer to
46.8.
54, so it's almost 2 feet wide, so you go 2 feet wide by 26, you're looking at 54.
Right,
Or-
yeah, so it's a little less, 22 inches, so, yeah, brings it
52.
just a little under 50, so.
52.
Yeah, so your 3683 is probably incorrect. Just double check that.
But it's still within,
Yeah.
It's within.
The
It's
frontage.
still
Yeah,
is
just,
fine
just
enough.
to, for accuracy,
Yeah.
so.
I'm going to caucus here a little bit and say I think because of I think we are all pretty much comfortable with the signs as they
Yeah.
look.
Right.
Taking aside my own personal position on the urgent care
Right.
sign, but, to the point where if we deny this straight out,
Mhm.
then it goes to zoning, and zoning will grant whatever zoning gets, and then it would be done then. It wouldn't have to come back to us, correct, Kevin?
If you deny it,
Yes. Or,
well, if you deny it, I would imagine that the applicant is going to appeal that decision, because if you deny their application, that means they cannot install the signs regardless of what zoning hearing board relief they get. They'd have to resubmit something to you for approval.
that's where I wanted to double check.
Yes, so if you
So if we
deny
can-
it, so your choices are to deny the application, which basically starts the process over for them, although they could go to zoning hearing board, but they would still need to come and get some sort of approval to this board. You could table it until they get zoning hearing board and they come back, knowing the amount of relief that they've gotten, and they tailor the signs to that. Or you could grant it subject to zoning hearing board
That's what I wanted to check.
Yeah.
approval, and put some parameters that
Yep.
if there's any great variation from the signs now that you see, that they could come back to you. Any decision that this board makes other than tabling it, the applicant can appeal that to the Board of Commissioners for kind of an arbitration and figure out what the final design would be. Again, the board wouldn't have the ability, the Board of Commissioners wouldn't have the ability to override zoning, but they could, if you say, look, you're only going to get 18-inch letters, and they appeal that to the commissioners could give them 20-inch letters, or whatever ultimately they would decide.
So in an effort to help you guys out time-wise, the best option then, Kevin, would be to sort of approve
Conditionally.
conditionally or contingent upon
Yeah.
zoning relief.
If you're comfortable with the letter heights and the aesthetics of the signs and the content, yes,
Yeah.
subject to zoning hearing board relief, yeah.
All right. Are we comfortable with that?
Yeah, I don't doubt, in the details of the signs themselves, again, the fabrication and the assembly of them, makes sense, the way it's illuminated, all of that is, in my opinion, is approvable, right? Not unlike any other signs that we would see in a very similar fashion. And so to that point, as sort of the sign itself,
Right.
it's okay.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just that there's, two major issues, right? The square footage of the monument and the mounting height of the
Yeah.
urgent care.
Right.
Those are our two issues.
And we're also not sure the total signage allowed on the site and if they are in excess of that or not, so.
For the total building, but also to that part, it becomes a power play, right? Like we can remove the canopy signage in its entirety if, all right, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree. It's just
Or
that-
that just makes it smaller, or just it
Yeah,
becomes
yeah.
IM, or,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
essentially, in an effort to move it to out, yeah.
Correct,
exactly.
and that's where if they start modifying the signs, that it is in front of this board for one appearance, and then they get the zoning hearing board, and they get
They
some
get
of
the
the
relief
relief,
that's
and now they
different.
start modifying the appearance of the signs, then it's
gotta
gonna
come
trigger
back
them to
here.
come back here.
Right.
So, if they don't get total sign area relief, and they have to start paring down the size of the signs, that would be something that this board may want to see back. I don't know, because
But it
we're
only
not quite
small.
sure
Well, it
what.
would only be smaller, and we would have no issue, we would have no problem if they came back and said, hey, you gotta minimize this a little
Right.
bit to conform. And then we would just send those plans that are sealed and stamped, approved for them, we would send back to this committee, so they would have a copy of it as well. I mean, we're not gonna.
Once this committee makes that decision, it wouldn't come back here.
Right.
Unless they
But couldn't you
make
put-
that
I think-
part of their recommendation.
I have an idea here.
Yeah.
If we have, and this kind of gets it locked in for us, right?
Right.
If you will agree that the signs will not be greater than the size that have been presented to us today,
Yes.
and that any subsequent modifications made to the signs will be done in proportion to what we've been shown here today,
Yeah,
then I think that covers it. And I think
Absolutely.
I'm comfortable with that, so that whenever zoning gives you whatever they give you, you can just move forward then.
that's great, that's
Right.
perfect, yeah.
I think that's what I'm trying to do to get you,
Right.
to
I
get you out the door and
appreciate
get you down the road.
Because I've been, a year ago I was here, this is number 2. and
Right,
I'm
right.
Over there, and I would appreciate that.
So then to that point, then, you can
Okay. Are you
sort
guys,
of reframe that.
are you guys
when
good
we
with
get
the
to it.
22-inch letters, though?
Yeah,
I mean, they're pretty
actually-
good, they're big.
Yeah,
they're big. I mean, you think of Wawa being off the road, probably a little more than this is, and there's only
Right.
4 letters in Wawa. I mean, I just want to make sure we're not too bright, too big, too bold in that
No,
location, but,
like, even if you look at the Bryn Mawr dermatology that's down there at the Villanova,
Mhm.
like that's pretty substantial to be illuminated like it is there
Right.
from ground level
Okay.
on that thing, right?
That also is back away from the road a little bit more than what we're talking
Right.
about here, though. Here, you're talking about these letters are actually
That's 19.
within, what, how many feet from the road?
25.
Yeah.
That's probably.
I don't know if it's
That's the only,
36.
I'm just,
Yeah, no, I understand,
Yeah.
you know,
I just say the size of the building, too.
yes.
I think this building sits back a good 60-plus feet from
That's what I was
the
gonna say.
road,
I was
because you
trying-
have 2 parking stallways at 20 foot deep.
That's what I was just
The drive aisle is
counting.
25, and then there's a grass strip in between that plus the sidewalk. So
Sidewalk.
it's probably even closer to 75 or 80 feet.
right.
Further
came
back.
closer when I was up there last time.
Yeah, I mean, ours, it's a vertical, or you know, the look is vertical, is what I'm doing. And I did, those pilasters, I think, are like 3.5 feet wide.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
They're big.
They are, okay,
Yeah, 42
okay.
inches. Yeah,
All right.
so, I just think proportionally, I think it looks nice. I don't want to do something that doesn't look
Oh,
attractive.
no, I know you
Yeah,
don't.
I'm
No,
trying to,
positively. I'm just throwing it out there,
Yeah.
just trying to get the
Yeah.
opinion of the board here. And
yeah.
so, okay, so we're good, so no larger than 22.
No,
but
yeah,
possibly
no
smaller
larger.
than 22.
Right.
And you think might be able to tighten up urgent, this gap
Yes.
between urgent and care?
Yes.
Like, we talked about that, Doctor. I don't know, you think that's,
Yeah,
Is
I'm
that
okay with
agreeable?
that, you know. I-
Just bring it in a little bit,
basically, we can
maybe?
Yeah, restrict
Yeah.
that a little, as long as, you know, the numbers, the letters don't blur together.
Sure.
It's-
So you'd be bringing the urgent down towards the care?
Yes.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
bring everything closer, right?
To get it down, the height down.
Closer.
Yes.
okay. I had a question on the monument sign.
Uh-huh.
Well, in general, where are you going to put the address number on the building?
On the monument sign.
Yeah, on the monument sign,
Yeah.
okay, all right. Because I didn't see it on there, and we need to have address numbers on these buildings.
Yeah, it's there, yeah.
Is it
Or-
there?
Oh, no,
No.
you just your hand wrote it,
I
yeah.
actually came through that in when we were talking about that, and I think what we could do is do like
Probably black, right?
yeah, we'll do like a black aluminum, like half-inch thick aluminum letter on the brick,
Yeah,
both sides.
like pin mounted on there?
Kind of tie in.
Yeah.
So it's not on the sign, but it's, if you can see in this photo, it's on the brick
Yeah,
closest to the road, so you can see it from, and then we would do it on both sides.
Right.
And you would be able to see
There
it
you go.
coming,
Is that good?
either side of
Mhm.
Lancaster Avenue.
okay. And it should be what, at least 4 inches, Kevin?
I believe it is, it has to be minimal, but I think we're gonna go 5.5, 6.
Whatever you guys
Okay.
want.
Again, it proportional,
Yeah.
you know, you guys will figure it out.
Mhm.
So, the other question, and I know we talked about it when you were in prior,
Mhm.
do you think you're going to put an entrance sign, kind of a directional sign or not?
If you think it would help, I don't have an issue that way. What we did on the monument is I put that close to the building. It's
Mhm.
close so that you can drive up and see easily. Entrance, what would you want that to
Well,
look like?
maybe
there?
just kind of feel it out and see how the traffic flow is and see
Yeah.
if
I
people
wouldn't want to block the
complain.
view
or-
easier. You're like saying really low, kind of?
Well, again, there's,
Yeah.
in the code book, you're only allowed
Okay.
like 4 square feet for that.
Okay.
But maybe see how it goes first and see how
Okay.
the traffic flow is and
Yeah.
before.
I'm fine with that.
You know, littering up with more signs than you need to.
Oh, if they're coming to the urgent care, they'll see you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's the idea.
yeah. What else, guys?
No, I think,
Yeah, I think it really looks nice. It just,
Thank you.
unfortunately, it just doesn't meet
Yeah.
our code book, so
Yeah.
I'd love to say, hey, you're home free tonight, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, you know, as a board, we can't do that.
No, I
so.
appreciate it.
Yeah, but I think you kind of knew
appreciate
that
you
coming in
working
here
with me.
tonight.
The township's been great.
Yeah,
with
good.
this whole venture I'm on,
Yeah,
so.
Good.
okay. Other comments?
no, I think it's good.
Kevin?
And it's good that that graphic is up. What is the total overall height of that sign, the freestanding sign, including the piers? Because the piers are calculated as part of the sign height, not necessarily the sign area. So we don't have a total height of that.
That is 82 inches, and the sign is 70 inches, so the brick is 82.
You have an 80-inch dimension right underneath the graphic of the individual of 80 inches from the ground to the top of the sign. That's got to be more than 2 inches from the
Yeah,
top of
so
the
you,
sign to the
yeah,
top
now
of the
we're up
column.
here, so you got more up here. It's also a tilt there, Kevin. You know, you got the slope. So we have to deal with that. Like, one of the pillars is gonna be higher than the other.
And that may require you to have relief. So yes, unfortunately, you are on that situation where
Yeah.
it drops off significantly.
Mhm.
Does that provide you with a hardship argument to the zoning hearing board? Possibly, in terms of needing height for that. So ultimately, it's your choice to go with this type of freestanding sign. No portion of it can be higher than 8 feet. So that's just, be mindful of that in where this is going and ultimately how high, because I wouldn't want you to go through the zoning hearing board process to come to find out after the fact that it is too tall, and you got it.
So maximum height of the columns is 96 inches.
Correct.
Okay, and I just wrote that on there, so I have that as a.
Yeah, the columns aren't calculated in the area, but they are calculated in the height.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, yeah.
And that's also mean grade, so as you are doing the area around, so that's why the calculations are required as part of these applications, so that the board can, look at these with a little bit finer tooth comb. So they're at a little bit of a disadvantage not having those calculations.
The other thing, I know we talked about it, is the placement of the sign. And I know you're 10 feet off the cartway, but just for the safety of your patrons and, I guess, kind of the safety of our board, Kevin, would it be advisable to allow the police to come out just to do one of those traffic studies, just to make sure the placement's not going to block anything?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, we're
good with
okay
me.
that.
Yeah, I think it's just,
We'd actually recommend.
for fences and for corners. I don't know for private driveway, but it's something that we can
Yeah.
ask if that's something that.
yeah, I think we've asked them a few times. I think,
Right.
I think they've done it, so, yeah, just to play it safe. I think it gets us off the hook, too, if there's a problem.
We just did that for, in Conshohocken.
Okay.
For preschool.
Mhm.
Put a sign up and they had to come out because it was a stop sign.
Right, okay.
Roadway.
Okay. All right,
We-
guys,
we-
what
I'm all for that. We actually moved it closer, just so you could easily see when you come out,
Yeah.
in and out, because I gotta move in and out.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough spot there.
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
a lot of traffic, so.
Tough spot,
Mhm.
yeah, good. All right, other comments, questions, comments?
No, I'm
You're
okay.
good?
Yeah.
Tim, you're good? Doctor,
Thank you.
Bob, good? Kevin? Good. You're good? All right, who's going to take it?
You got it, Tim.
You got it, Tim. You're the attorney.
I'll second.
In the matter of 2020 -17, the application of IM Health, I move for contingent approval of the application based upon the representations of the applicant that any relief obtained from zoning for the size and height requirements of both the ground and wall sign, any modifications thereafter will be made proportional to the presentation made to us today, and will not exceed the size of the letters or signage which have been presented to us today. And contingent upon the request to the Radnor Township Police for a safety study at the location of the ground sign. Subject to those conditions and the relief obtained from the zoning hearing board, I move for approval of the application.
There's a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right.
Thank you
Lots
very
of luck.
much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Bob.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you for letting us work through that.
I appreciate it.
yeah,
Thank
Okay.
you for making me use my brain in terms of forming a motion.
right. Yeah. That's it. And it looks like, is there any old business for our board tonight? No? We're good to go. We'll see you next month. Thank you.
All right. Oh, thank you. Sure.